Why did Jikook choose July 14, 2025, to finally appear live together after months of silence? Was this just a coincidence, or a message hidden in plain sight? Are the rumors true? Did this live mark the beginning of a new era, or the end of something we never understood? It began like a whisper, soft, unconfirmed murmurs that fluttered across fan circles and online communities like fireflies in the night. July 14, 2025, a date that hadn't meant much until a sudden silence broke on Weavers, when two dots appeared beside two names, Jungkook and Jimin. No one was ready, and yet somehow everyone had been waiting for this moment. But the question lingers, why now? The screen flickered to life, not with dramatic fanfare, but with a silence so heavy it felt like the world held its breath. Two silhouettes, not entirely in frame, not entirely still, blurred by soft light and muffled sounds. It wasn't just a live, it was an echo, a pulse, a reunion, a confession. And when the camera cleared, there they were, Jikook, together, not just in presence, but in something deeper, something unspoken. From the moment Jimin let out a nervous laugh and glanced sideways at Jungkook, fans knew something was different. This wasn't scripted, this wasn't planned, or if it was a plan they wrote for themselves, free from expectations, free from filters. "Hi," Jimin said first, voice almost trembling, and yet with that signature softness that melts edges. "It's been a while." The understatement sent a wave through the fandom. The last time the two had gone live together had been months, nearly a year. The space between had been filled with speculation, coded messages in lyrics, fleeting glances on award stages, and rumors so thick even silence spoke louder. Jungkook, hair slightly tousled like he'd just rolled out of a private moment, leaned in and smiled. That smile, a mix of mischief and vulnerability. "We thought it was time," he said. Just that. But time for what? The chat exploded. Comments flew like meteors, each one grasping for meaning. "Are you okay? Why now? Is this goodbye? Is this a beginning?" They didn't answer at first. Instead, they looked at each other, not performatively, not for the camera, just looked. Jimin bit his lip, a telltale sign for those who knew. Jungkook rubbed the ring on his pinky, the one he only wore on certain days. Symbols, gestures, patterns, nothing they did was ever truly random. And yet, they said nothing of the rumors, nothing of the stories, only silence, laced with meaning. And then, unexpectedly, Jungkook spoke again. "We missed you." 3 words, simple. But from him, and with Jimin beside him, it sounded like an unraveling, an admission, a thread pulling loose after being tied tight for too long. It was Jimin's turn to fall silent. He looked down, then back up, his eyes shining a little too much. And without warning, he reached out, not to the camera, not to the audience, but to Jungkook. Just a brush of his fingers against the younger's wrist. "I thought about this day every night," he said, voice low, honest. "Every time we weren't together. Every time someone asked and I couldn't answer. I wanted to say something, but I was afraid it wouldn't be enough." The air shifted. What were they really talking about? Army wasn't just watching a live. They were witnessing something that felt forbidden, vulnerable, real. Jungkook nodded slowly, then looked at the camera for the first time with full eye contact. "Maybe it's time we stop hiding." And there it was, the line that broke the dam. Hiding from what? From whom? And how long had this charade been going on? The two began recalling moments, nights on tour buses, days in studio corners, private messages sent across the world. The details were blurry, but the emotions were raw. There were moments of laughter, like when Jimin told the story of Jungkook forgetting his lines during a recording session because of a text he sent, and moments of stillness, like when Jungkook confessed he couldn't listen to a certain song anymore without remembering something he couldn't say. They didn't name names. They didn't give a title to whatever bound them together, but they didn't have to. The way Jimin instinctively wiped the corner of Jungkook's eye when he blinked too fast, the way Jungkook leaned into Jimin's shoulder when his voice cracked from too much honesty. It was a soft unraveling, a delicate rebellion. And then came the surprise. "We want to share something," Jimin whispered, "but you have to promise you'll listen, not just hear." He reached out and pressed a button on the table. The screen went dark, and then a song played and released, raw, imperfect. 2 voices, layered but distinct, singing about longing, time lost, and a place they called home. "Is this?" One fan typed. "It's them." Another answered. "It's them." The live wasn't just an update. It was a time capsule, a window into everything unsaid over the years. It was a message not just to ARMY, but maybe to each other. I was scared you'd leave, Jungkook admitted, eyes on the screen. I was scared I already had, Jimin replied. And the world, millions, watching across continents, felt a stillness deeper than words. Questions kept bubbling. What did this mean? Were they saying goodbye? Or were they finally saying hello? Was this a closure or a doorway? They read the comments. They smiled, cried, laughed. They answered a few, nothing direct. Everything was cloaked in softness, suggestion, subtlety. Because that's how Jikook has always been, not loud declarations, but quiet revolutions. As the live neared its end, there was a hesitation. They didn't want to leave. And we didn't want them to. But eventually, Jimin stood. Jungkook followed. Before stepping out of frame, Jimin turned one last time. Don't forget what we said, he murmured. You're our home. And this is ours. The screen faded. But the world didn't move on. Because somewhere in that hour, a chapter opened. Not necessarily one we understand fully, but one we feel. So the question remains, what did we witness? A simple live, or a moment in history, written not in press releases, but in glances, pauses, and the tremble of a hand brushing another? The answers may not come immediately, but one thing is certain: on July 14, 2025, Jikook didn't just go live, they came alive. The silence that followed their exit wasn't empty, it echoed. Fans didn't leave the live room. They lingered, hands hovering above keyboards, chests still tight with a mix of wonder and confusion. The screen had gone black, but something had been awakened, something that refused to be silenced. Within minutes, Jikook Live began trending worldwide, not just for the visual of them together but for the feeling, the implications, the things they did not say, the untied threads now left for everyone to pull. ARMYs weren't just dissecting the live, they were decoding it. Why did Jungkook wear that ring again? Why was Jimin's voice shaking when he mentioned every night? Why did the song they played mention standing in the doorway of home, afraid to knock? One fan clipped the moment Jungkook said, "Maybe it's time we stop hiding," and looped it over soft piano music. It spread like wildfire. Others pointed out the subtle lyric embedded in the unreleased track. Even when I left, I kept a key. That line alone sparked hours of discussion. But what was this key? What exactly were they trying to unlock? Some believed it was about their bond, platonic, romantic, spiritual, whatever label people felt compelled to give. Others felt it was something deeper, a cry for honesty, in a world that asked them to wear masks. And maybe, just maybe, it was a goodbye. But hours later, when the dust was still settling, something else happened. At exactly 3:14 AM KST, both Jimin and Jungkook updated their profiles with the same word, still. No context, no image, just that word. Still as in motionless, still as in continuing. Was it a declaration, a promise, or just another layered message that only the most devoted would understand? The word still wasn't chosen randomly. Fans quickly noticed it mirrored lyrics from a poem Jungkook had shared years earlier during Festa. I am still where you left me, and I always will be. That alone felt like a bombshell. But when paired with the way Jimin had looked at him during the live, eyes soft, almost pleading, the word took on heavier weight. And this is where it started to unravel in ways no one could have predicted. What had been happening in the months leading up to July 14, 2025? Why had Jikook remained so quiet, so separate, even during group schedules?